Turning 18 is like getting dropped into a casino, a car dealership, and a stock trading app at the exact same time. And all three are smiling at you like, congrats, you're an adult now. But adulthood is not when you get freedom. It's when people start trying to sell you expensive versions of it. Because the biggest mistake at 18 is not being broke, it's confusing access with wealth. Credit access, debt access, market access, subscription access, a dopamine buffet with APR. And if you don't understand that early, you can accidentally spend your first adult decade building a life that looks rich while quietly getting poorer. So let's talk about the mistakes that catch people right after 18. Not the obvious ones, the normal-looking ones, the ones that feel harmless, the ones that can put you 10 years behind before you're old enough to rent a decent car. This movie is old, only the costumes change. Every generation gets sold the same fantasy. You can have it now and deal with the math later. That was the bait in one era. Then it became, don't worry, the monthly payment is small. Now it's, relax, it's just 4 payments. Same poison, different packaging. That is why so many people feel anxious around money, not because they're stupid, because they've seen this sequel before. The world is incredibly good at turning impatience into a business model, and the machine behind it is not small. U.S. consumer credit outstanding is above $5.07 trillion. Credit card balances are around $1.28 trillion. Student loan balances sit near $1.66 trillion. That means the system is not built around your peace of mind. It is built around your willingness to say, future me will handle it. And that sounds fine until future you shows up. Mistake number 1. Thinking your credit limit is money. A credit card is not evil, it's a tool. But the second you carry a balance, that tool starts charging rent. Right now, the average APR on credit card accounts that are actually accruing interest is about 21.52%. So when somebody says, bro, it's just $1,000, no. At that rate, a $1,000 balance costs you roughly $215 a year in interest before you even get cute with fees. That's not convenience. That's your future paycheck getting mugged in broad daylight. And here's the sneaky part. Debt rarely arrives dressed like disaster. It usually arrives dressed like convenience. One tap, one swipe, one monthly payment, one little, I'll figure it out later. That's how it gets you. Mistake number 2, thinking buy now, pay later is harmless. Buy now, pay later is basically debt wearing a hoodie and pretending it's chill. More than 1 in 20 consumers used BNPL. About 63% of borrowers took on multiple simultaneous loans. And for people aged 18 to 24, BNPL made up 28% of total unsecured consumer debt during the months they borrowed, versus 17% on average across all ages. That is not just splitting the payment. That is a rehearsal for normalized debt. That is 2008 energy in sneaker form. That is, I'm not broke because the bill hasn't fully arrived yet. 1, 2, 3, 4 slick little payments that snowball into a wall of obligations. And the genius of BNPL is psychological, because 4 smaller numbers feel less painful than 1 real number, which is great for the lender and terrible for your brain. Mistake number 3, financing status too early, especially cars. A car can be necessary. A car payment often is not. The average 72-month new car loan at commercial banks right now is about 7.55%. That is 6 years of payments. 6 years. At 18, that means you can lock your 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and 23-year-old self into payments for something that is losing value in the parking lot while you're making them. That's not adulthood. That's a subscription to depreciation. And I know, the car looks clean, the interior lighting is purple, the salesman called you boss, but your goal at 18 is not to impress people at red lights. Your goal is not to become a full-time employee of your own monthly bills. Mistake number 4, waiting to invest until you make real money. This one sounds responsible. That's why it's dangerous, because time matters more than intensity at the beginning. The SEC gives an absolutely brutal example. Save just $5 a week from age 18 at 8%, and by age 65, you'd have about $134,000. Wait until 40, and you'd need to save $32 a week just to catch up. And delaying by just 1 year can cost you more than $10,000 by retirement. That's insane. Not because $5 is life-changing, because time is. Here's the adult version. Put away $100 a month from 18 to 60 at 8%, and you're around $412,000. Start at 28 instead, same contribution, same return, and you're around $177,000. Same person, same habit, different start date. That gap is not magic. That is time doing push-ups while you were procrastinating. And no, this does not mean you need to become some spreadsheet monk at 18. It means the biggest flex is starting small before life gets expensive. So what does all this mean for you right now? While your feed is screaming about AI stocks, meme coins, options, sports betting, side hustles, and some 22-year-old in Miami explaining cash flow from a rented Lamborghini? It means your first decade as an adult is not about looking rich, it's about becoming financially hard to kill. That's the game. Not flashy, not viral, but unbelievably powerful. Mistake number 5, building a flex budget before an emergency fund. Because life does not send calendar invites. Your laptop dies, your phone cracks, your bike gets stolen, your shift gets cut, your dentist becomes the villain of the month, and suddenly a small problem becomes credit card debt at 21%. Among Americans aged 18 to 29, only 47% said they could cover a $400 emergency expense completely using cash or its equivalent. Read that again. More than half of people your age are one annoying Tuesday away from borrowing money. That is why your emergency fund matters more than your aesthetic. Mistake number 6, treating investing like entertainment. Your broker app is not a video game. Options are not a personality. And buying a stock just because someone on your feed says it's going to the moon is basically speed dating with regret. This is where a lot of 18-year-olds get cooked. Not because they invest, because they gamble and call it investing. There's a difference. Investing is saying, I own productive assets for a long time. Gambling is saying, this guy on TikTok had a nice microphone. Those are not the same sentence. So here's the boring move that actually wins. Open a simple, low-cost index fund, automate the contribution, use a tax-advantaged account if your country has one. But the real point is not hitting the ceiling, it's building the habit. Because nobody gets rich from one heroic month. People get rich from systems, from boring repetitions, from letting math do the heavy lifting while their ego shuts up. Everyone wants to get rich fast. Almost nobody wants to get solid first. Be the second person. History has a funny way of rewarding them.